Then enter once you join and
I see. Yeah, so forgive me. I'm in the chat channel. I guess I wasn't sure. What did you need next?
I just invite you. I think you're already party. Oh wait,
Oh, that's weird.
is you're missed, right? Or no? Wait, no.
I'm the night owl.
Okay. Then I don't see you in the.
I think I'm in Groovy stream. Maybe I'm not. I think I am. I'm in here with the beast. I don't know what that is. Maybe this is the one
Hold
thing.
on. Let me try. Let me try it again.
Oh, I see now.
All right. Start with TVZ.
Cool. TBZ, let's do it. Yeah, right on. Cool.
All right. All right. Okay. Also, you have your list ready, right? The 5 things. I know you put it on the form, but actually, I can go look that up.
I have it in my head essentially. I mean, it was mostly revolving around army movement, map control, being effective with my units, like active with them on the map. Control grouping is a big one.
Yeah. So generally, when I do the list thing, I most of the time make people make like a physical list because I think writing it down, like I think when you make yourself write it down, it's more of an acknowledgement, like an actual acknowledgement of the issue, rather than just thinking about it as a passing thought. But so yeah, the Google form is a new thing I'm trying out. I don't know how much, but
Got you. Right. I'm sure I could find that reference. But I'd have to dig it
it's
up.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm already. Also, I've had quite a couple troll responses to the form, which they are pretty funny. But let's see.
Yeah, I was wondering. I figured out the form like that. Yeah.
Army move. Okay. Uh. Okay. So if you're having trouble scouting a Zerg, the general rule I'm gonna use is like the 3 minute rule, which like so most of the time you scout at the 1 minute mark, like you're doing right now, right? So that means every 3 minutes past that point, if you like so at the 4.5 minute mark, if you ask yourself, do I know what he's doing, and the answer is no, then you should scout again. Same at the 7.5 minute mark. Do I know what he's doing, like what he's going towards next? If the answer is no, then you make sure like you make a concentrated effort to scout him after that. Because generally speaking, those time points are when they're going for like for example the 4.5 minute mark. That'll show you if they're gonna all in you or not, or if they're making drones to go. The 7.5 minute mark, that'll be showing you, are they going Mutiling Bane, are they going into Hydras, things of that nature. Like what is their mid game tech? And then the 10.5 minute mark, do they already have Hive on the way? If they don't already have Hive on the way at that point, then you're probably in a good spot. Like the 3 minute rule is something that I've been using for a long time. It just really good like power points in the game for Zerg players that they're trying to. Those are generally the times that they're trying to go for their next level of tech or whatever. And if they're not, then it's a good way to, it's a good indicator of that they're gonna stick to something else, or they're going to do a big attack or something like that.
Okay. Down. Okay.
Also, you want to make this like. So you didn't build a Reaper, did you? Yeah, you didn't. I like the not building a Reaper, but you have to build this. You have to, if you're gonna do not. How do I explain this? To avoid being supply blocked, if you're not gonna build a Reaper, then you need to build the depot on 20. Which it feels weird building it on 20 because I've been taught for the last 4 years to build it on 21. But I just because I've been doing this too.
I think I goofed it on this particular game.
Yeah, that's
typically,
okay. But so I actually, it's the going reactor first is a new thing for me too. I'm assuming you got it from Beyond because that's where I got it from.
Actually, so it was posted as a new thermal build. I've been doing it for a little bit. I don't know if that's actually the origin, but
But well, I watched a series of Beyond versus Solar, and he did this 3 games in a row. So I started like, I figured if he was confident enough that he didn't need the Reaper, and I get why those pro players are that confident, right? Because a really good Zerg player at that level is probably not going to lose anything to a Reaper, like even a single Zergling. Like they're getting good enough to the point where they're not losing anything. So it's like it's such a adaptation from the Terran player's perspective to be able to go for something like this, and I think it helps a lot of lower leaguers as well because it's not something you don't have to focus on.
yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, I mean, I like just not having it and messing with it. And,
It leaves you a lot less
yep.
room for error, but that does mean that you should be aware that these links probably will come across the map every time you do it. Like that's just something you got to think about in the back of your head. I think it'll. So I like your SCV scouting like this, but back to the reactor first thing, you're going to have a lot of Zerg players, especially once you get to like say Diamond 1, right? Where they use no Reaper as an opportunity to all in you. As in like they don't think you're gonna
Got
have
it. Okay.
quite as much scouting. So like imagine this for a second, okay? Imagine this Zerg player kills this SCV with these lings, and then he just only makes like decides to Bane bust you or Roach bust you after that. So
Sure.
that'll be where
And
the good.
well, it's interesting you say that. That specifically is the kind of thing that's been kind of difficult. So yeah, I definitely I hear you here. But anyways, yeah, I just you were kind of right on the right track with what I've been experiencing. So
Yeah, like these links coming across things like that. So generally speaking, so what I've been doing when I open up with this is I go for a tank first, which I know is like it puts you at a little bit less of an aggressive standpoint against a Zerg player, but I think it's really it kind of just shuts down the option for all of those kinds of builds. The Roach all in lings, things like that. So like for this variation, I don't know exactly what build you're doing right now, but I just think a tank, like at least a tank to start, is the best way to go about this, especially since you scouted a late third. Like you've been scouting actively with this SCV and you've seen no third. He has one now, but I'm talking about like just based on your own vision. I definitely a tank in this situation would be best. Just because you're not sure, like you can never be 100% sure unless you get in there and you're individually counting every drone on his mineral line.
yeah, sure.
So, okay, I do have a question for you.
Please.
Losing, besides not having to focus on microing or Reaper and losing some information, what do you think the goal is of going like reactor first?
So what I like about this is that so I build all these marines and it's somewhat safe. It kills like sometimes they can pressure with a lot of lanes, maybe not like all of them lanes or whatever, but it keeps me safe from a lot of stuff while I build these marines. And then I end up walling off here. I build double medevacs out of the starport, and then I send them across the map with a widow mine. And so they keep me safe to begin with, but then I trade them off with whatever I can trade them off with on the other side of the map because I'm going to transition into max here, and I don't care about these anymore. So I kind of
Oh,
want to build
okay,
them, keep me
okay.
safe, and then pressure my opponent with them to like throw them away and just get whatever, and then go into mech behind it.
Okay, so you're basically using these as like kind of to try to throw them off that you're going bio, and that like as an aggressive variant, I guess, of this build instead of
Uh,
just okay.
yeah, I think I would say so.
Okay. I was just curious because like my
Not
most of
sure.
the philosophy is the more basically Terran versus Zerg comes down to unit count, right? At least in terms of bio, not necessarily mech, but bio it all comes down to unit count. You have 24 Marines instead of 16. Maybe they don't have enough banelings or enough lings, right? It's like such a topsy turvy game to start with at the first 5, 6, 7 minutes
Sure.
that like especially in terms of people like Beyond and things like that. Opening reactor first just allows you to put more consistent pressure on because you just have a higher unit count because you've been producing double marines for a lot longer period of time. It just like
Got
it
it.
translates into tempo of the game that usually goes in the favor of the Terran. Obviously, depending upon who you're playing and how the game goes. Uh,
Yeah, and it's funny. So I might actually start doing bio here. I've been doing mech for a long time, but honestly, I've been having good success with it too. But it's kind of ahead of my other matchups in a lot of ways, and so I've been thinking about transitioning and learning a bio style. So we might have to, you know, deal with a lot of that and coming up with the ban list. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. The only thing I'm not really fond of right now is you've definitely missed quite a few SCVs. Like I didn't notice that until right now. But you should be at this point in the game, you should be about at 36 or 37, getting somewhere around there. Because you just went racks expand if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it just means you were cutting SCVs for Marines in the beginning. So like I wouldn't mind you hitting with what is this going to be 14 Marines? So hitting with 12 Marines instead of 14. But you're making sure your worker on top of it. The most important part of this matchup is the first 5 minutes, how they go for both sides. So like for example, the Zerg side of this, you're supposed to be having 10 drones per minute in the game, and he hasn't received any pressure, which means you can go even further than that. So if he was actually macroing how he's supposed to right now, he should be at probably 51 to 55 drones at the moment, and you see how much worse that would look. Like it's 40 to 29 right now, which with 2 mules, that's 39 to 40, so it's about even. But we're not worried about like Zergs you play at this level. We're worried about what are you going to face when you gain MMR, like Zerg players that actually know what they're doing. So it would be better, if you're at 36, 37 SCVs, so equivalent to 47 worth of mining, while they're at 50 to 55 drones. Like the economy would be a lot more even, and especially at this level, if you manage to crispen up this early game, like make it more tight, then you will just start rolling them in the mid game because you're just going to have so much more money to produce and make more stuff with.
Right on.
What league are we looking at again? We are currently looking at a Diamond 3. Okay, so he sees your drop, and you saw that he had very few lings. So you say you go mech after this. My only issue so far is that like your tech is super behind as well. Like,
okay.
Because the Liberators, so double medevac plus Liberator, that's 500 of your early game gas is already gone. Like, and I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but if you don't, I'm worried about the games where you won't do massive damage with it. Like this can be a very good build if you do a lot of damage. But if you're not able to get that damage done, and the Zerg's going, like, for example, he's already got +1 Carapace, a lair on the way, things like that, he's already going to be at lair tech before you even have your upgrades started. Which you see how that can be an issue if you don't manage to get quite a bit done.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean that sounds about accurate. Sometimes I just come bop them with this, and they sort of fall over and die a little bit, or sometimes you get good damage and you can transition out. But yeah, if they deflect this really hard, I do kind of feel certainly behind as I go into the mid game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and another part of that what's it called, that expands upon the missing SCVs. Like you haven't started an SCV in at least 15 seconds right now, because you're looking at this in the main, which not all players do, but I know you're not a STEM guy, I know you say you want to learn bio, but those didn't have STEM. Generally, what I do when people are dropping and things like that is I tell them to use the STEM indicator, which is STEM pack lasts 15 seconds, right? And it shows up shows a little red marker on top of the Marine's head whenever it goes off. Well, an SCV takes 12 seconds and a Marine takes 18 seconds. I think a Hellion takes the same. So by the time STEM's done, you're ready to produce again. You're like, that means it should be like a little trigger in your brain that you need to look back and make stuff. But for you instead, because you're a mech player, it's gonna basically the 5-second rule your mom taught you with your food when you're a little kid. You need to do that with all of your units. I don't care if you're maxed out. Like, you really want to look at this fight really bad. Like, yeah, just count in your head 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look back. At least do something. If that's producing 1 SCV, it's better than not making any. So it's like, just force yourself in the habit of looking back at your base. I think in my opinion, it's the biggest mistake that Diamond Terrans make, is not being able to look away from fights. And I get it. It looks cool. It's the whole point of the game, is all the flashy fights that go on into winning and all this stuff. But it's like, especially right now, because this wasn't going to win the game. It might do damage, but you definitely weren't going to win the game. So you got to make sure you don't fall behind while doing something like this. Because imagine like you're spending your money and producing workers right now. Look at his money. Like you're just going to exponentially get further and further ahead of him. Like, his issue right now is that he made the correct amount of workers. He just doesn't know what to do with them. So that'll be the difference between him and someone you play that's 600 MMR higher, is they're going to know how to spend this money while this is going on, and then you're going to feel really behind, as opposed to just kind of like,
yeah, for sure,
just a little bit. So like yeah, you could have shift clicked your libs out, but definitely the biggest thing is workers. Uh, so I noticed that it's kind of. I'm assuming that was an accident.
Not sure. Oh yeah, this. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure what I did, but definitely,
and you got 4 mining on the main.
yeah, right on. That's yeah, not incredible.
Yeah. I'll look at your vision real quick. Yeah. So yeah, you're definitely the biggest thing is just where your focus is at, like your attention. You're like you got to think about during the game you're actively making decisions on where to look and what to do, right? So uh just you have to be able to recognize that these decisions like you're not allocating your time as optimally as you could be. And your attention is the biggest resource of this game. That's why you see Zerg players like him float this much money because they don't have the attention span to do everything they need to do. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because for an entire minute now you've moved up a single supply, whereas he's gone up 20. Right, like that's a rate of sustainability that we cannot handle at the moment. So yeah. Also, do you shift click your SCVs back when you make stuff?
Um, typically, well, actually, that's a good question. I think I do sometimes with like ones that are like building production buildings. I think a lot of them I just end up leaving.
I'm clicking on the ones that are building stuff right now, and none of them are queued to go back. And these two have been done with the factory for a long time. So like
Yeah, I got 9 floating here.
yeah, 9 SCVs not mining plus the couple that are building. Like you're effectively mining, and then what is this 6 on gas? So yeah, you're mining off of 17 workers on minerals right now. That's probably why you feel so broke. Like I'm assuming you feel really broke in this game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is clearly pretty hideous. Yeah.
But it's definitely fixable. All of these are super tiny mistakes. Like they end up being bigger. They're basic mistakes is what I meant, not tiny. But this is all like one simple thought change and thought process change, and these will be. But it does take the problem with these thought process and changes are it takes repetition. Like a lot of these are just you're gonna know what to do. You just have to put them in play multiple games. You know.
Yeah.
You're double expanding. You want to try like because you went for a sort of an early third, like a 4.5 minute to 5-ish minute third. You want to try to have your third landed by the 7 minute mark at the latest.
Okay.
When you're playing like this, it's a good like 7:30 is okay, but anything after that, that is also a good indicator for you of where you're at in the game. If your thirds hasn't been put down yet, and it's 8.5 minutes in the game, you're probably behind.
Okay.
But yeah, this is what I'm talking. Another thing with the scouting is we were mentioning the every couple minutes scouting rule. You scouted at about 5.5 minutes with that drop. It's about 3 minutes later, and so now would be a good time to know what he's doing. Because all you've seen so far is a lair and a mailing nest, but that could be anything. He could be going mutas, he could be going hive.
True.
Like, yeah. And especially, I think scouting with mech is even more important than scouting with bio because of mutas, specifically. Like, you really, you want to be able to have Thors, ready if there's mutas coming, right?
Right. Um, so actually, in a situation like this, and for mutant specific, how do you recommend scouting? Because I, don't want to just be sloppy with my scans or whatever. I mean, I'm scanning right here, but and you had to spire a little bit, so I don't know what do you typically do?
Well, so, your scan got really lucky here, okay? For 2 reasons. One, the first reason being, generally what I was going to say when you asked that, how would I go about scouting? You always look at whatever base is the lair and scan that base because 99% of the time they're going to put their tech where the lair is. So, if this were me, I would scan the natural, and then if there was nothing at the natural, I would scan the main. But you scan the main first. This is what I mean by you kind of gambled and got lucky, right? Like you scanned and you got the I don't know, Van Gogh of all scans. This is great. You got everything. You got the Hydrogen, the Infestation Pit, the Roach Warren, everything that he's thinking about doing, which doesn't really make much sense, by the way. His tech doesn't make 0 sense, but you still get to see what he's doing. But another thing about scanning the lair is not only is their tech going to be there, but you get to see if they're going to hive yet or not.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
And that's also very, very important, especially like because Viper is very good against mech units or brood lords as well. Like just you start this as a mech player. You start thinking differently once you see a hive on the way. Completely different. What, you don't understand why he's going roach form right now? Yeah, that's what I meant by his tech doesn't make any sense. Like there's absolutely no reason for the Zerg player to be going roaches here. But that's okay. We're not focused on how bad he is. We're focused on friend here. See, yeah, his hive's in the way. So this is what we call a free win for you. Okay. This guy is going lurkers. This guy got told somewhere that lurkers are good against mech, and that is the worst misconception ever. Like, lurkers are good because of their range, but the only composition in the entire fucking game that outranges lurkers is mech. So the only thing that they suck against is mech compositions. So like there is one time in this world that you should never go lurkers, and that is against exactly what you're doing right now. So while this guy is light years ahead of you, he is doing the only losable strategy that he could possibly find in his book of how to lose as a Zerg player. He's doing the only one. So this should be like before he put this down, I thought about this when he was getting the Hydra upgrade, by the way. I was like, please don't fucking put down a lurker den and make this. He's building a second Roachhorn. Anyways, and make this into a meme of a game. But yeah. So you were super dead, by the way, in this game. Like this game is already kind of over. Just because of the like you're getting upgrades now, but if it was me playing from this position in a game, I would not be expecting to win this game for the next 7 or 8 minutes. Because you would need to hold 3 or 4 times before you're back to even. So your goal right now should be only holding. Just because of the worker deficit. Like, look at his bank. Imagine he could be max still with a bank and better upgrades than you just because of the worker difference in the early game. That's how much it matters, you know?
Yeah.
So, but from this point forward in the game, you should be playing that super turtley mech kind of style and maybe sending out Hellion run-bys every now and then to try to do drone damage. But I don't really care if you send Hellion run-bys out or not, because at this level they don't really matter that much. Like you could kill 30 of this guy's drones. He's so fucking bad at spending his money that it doesn't matter. Like he's still got a 4K bank. So killing 30 drones, it might feel good, but it's not gonna. To this guy, it's not gonna do anything. This guy's saving for his retirement already, and he's like 6 years old. I really I really wish it was the Zerg player that like paid for coaching instead of you, because your your process, like your thought process, at least has some semblance of an idea of what you want to do and like makes some sense. But every decision he makes, I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. This was kind of a wild one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, one thing you're missing is you're not keeping your like earlier bases saturated, if that makes any sense. Like like your main base has 3 out of 14 on it right now. Your second base that's about fully saturated. Your third or fourth 13 out of 16, and your other one has 4 out of 16. So it's like you're just missing mineral saturation everywhere. And so it's like you have 60 SCVs, but it's just like you definitely need to make sure the minerals are saturated before you take the gases, even if you're playing mech. It'll be a good rule that'll keep you on top of your SCV production. So like don't build, like I know mech needs more gases, but I'd rather you wait until you have full mineral lines to build gases. That way you have enough SCVs. Like it's visually present in your brain that there is enough SCVs here for me to build gases.
Yeah, that's gonna make sense.
That was the worst run by I've ever seen in my life. Right. Okay, yeah. I do this all the time, but just make sure you re-rally new buildings. Like your Widow Mines and your Thor just chilling in your main base.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, that's just basic, though. That's not anything big. Like, yeah, you're probably feeling like you're getting to a pretty decent army now, but this would it's been another 3 minutes about. So now it would definitely be about the time to scout again, which again means scan the lair or probably hive now. Or in this case, I would scan both because you saw he was putting his tech in the main, so it's a good indicator that that's where he's putting his tech. That's probably where the next tech option is going to be, right? So
Yeah,
I would definitely scan both, and if you see nothing else from what you've seen the first time, then I'd probably keep scanning other bases till you find what you need to. Like at this point, scans are kind of expendable. You at this point you should be at about 86 SCVs and like 5 to 6 bases. So
I see.
yeah, all of this, like the way you're feeling in the game right now is gonna drastically change once you get your worker production in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes down. Oh, hold on, I gotta take a screenshot of this guy's army for.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna what this guy thinks is the. All right, so you look like you're about to move out right now. I can't tell, but just like I'm feeling like you're getting itchy. You know, you're getting a
Oh,
hunch.
you could sense it, huh?
Yeah, that you feel like you need to move out. I like the splitting the widow wines. I think that's good. I'm always a fan of moves like that. And also, you're actually getting good scouting info on where his whole army is, which is more than you could have hoped for. You didn't look at it, but you got the info. Okay.
Complete.
I'm gonna wait to ask my question until you move out because it has to do with moving out. All right, let's see it. Ready? I'm waiting for the first attack. I like that you're waiting until you're maxed. Like this is what I meant by you. I know you at least somewhat sort of fell behind.
Yeah, certainly.
That is the absolute best fight you could have ever hoped for. This is what I'm talking about, bro. This guy thinks his army counters mech. Like, I am appalled.
Yeah, I was a little surprised myself.
Okay, so you need to do that at least one more time. Like I know you probably get a little over eager right now and like, man, that was a sick fight. Let's move out. But the answer should still be no, because of two reasons. One, if you clicked his upgrades, he's already got +3. So even though your +2 is about to finish, you're gonna be you're gonna be 2-3 versus 1-2. So you're at an upgrade disadvantage. You know he's a Zerg player, so he's gonna be remaxed by the time you get back across the map. And your whole goal when you play mech is to deplete the bank, anyways. So for you, this is what I call a step in the right direction. Like that is the first step to victory. This is like a 3-step plan. First step, max out. Second step, kill the army once. The third step would be after the second time you kill the army, this is the time to go across. Like you want to be hitting your power spikes. Like for example, if you were to move across right now, your +1 for your air weapons is halfway done, and you still have 26 open supply that you are going to fill with units, right? So imagine you wait. And you wait another, at least until you're maxed again. Now you at least have I know you're right about to get +2 vehicle weapons, but you're going to have better upgrades, a stronger army, and be able to have time to repair all of these guys, etc., etc. And now the argument could be made that he's going to have time to max out too. But you saw what he did with the first max out. So if his second max out is as scary as that first max out, I don't think you have too much to be worried about. Because that was terrible.
Oh, that makes sense to me.
Ooh, missed the scan there. So, this is like, I know you didn't scout at the last one either, but this is about the 14-minute mark as well. This is another one of those, like, okay, you need to know what's coming next. Like, and as I say it, I look at the production tab and his next tech is here, which is Swarmhost, which it's a good thing to know. As soon as you see Swarmhost, by the way, stop making tanks altogether. Just go Thor Hellbat Liberator. best
Got it.
composition versus Swarm Host.
No tanks. Okay.
Because so the Thors, once you have +3 in their splash damage mode, they one shot groups of locusts out of the air, as well as Liberators, obviously good against them, and Blue Flame Hellbats beat them as well. So and then Thors kind of clean up whatever else is on the ground. So you're basically, if you can negate the locust wave as it's coming down, the Swarm Hosts are so supply heavy that you can still just crush whatever else he has on the ground. Like, that isn't Swarm Host. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, Swarm Hosts need 5, 6, 7 waves to get off for them to be effective. So the moment you see Swarm Host, that is the push moment. That's where you're like, okay, well, it's time to go. Like, make him waste waves at home. You just, whatever you can do to not have him putting his Swarm Host locust waves on your side of the map, that's what you want to be doing.
Got it.
Because the whole point of Swarm Host is gaining unlimited value. I like your tanky, your third is just stuck. Just all arming him and he's just stuck there.
Oh yeah, he was bad. He has to stay in timeout.
So you remaxed out. You kind of waited. I don't think you waited voluntarily. You just wanted to kill those lurkers. So running away from the locusts, a good thing. Okay. Also, if you still do have tanks, it's better to just leave them unsieged as well. The whole, like, Swarm Hosts are the most effective against tanks because they cause so much friendly fire. Like, you would not have lost a single unit there had you just left your units unsieged, but instead you lost, like, 3 or 4 tanks plus all the damage on your other guys because they basically just committed, like, genocide of their own people. Like, shooting at these tiny bugs that literally have 0 value. So, also, there's no reason for you to fight his army here. Like, first, you're not gaining any ground by fighting here. Like, fighting this direction. There's no base up there. There's no anything like that. As well as, imagine, like, you put your whole army on top of this ramp, and he has to fight into you. Like, he has to come up into you, rather than you going across into him. So, you were talking about working on positioning. I know you said it was for TVT, but just, like, think about it. Like, it's another good place to practice it would be here as well. Sure. Yeah, like, putting both those Liberators on top of this tiny ramp would be a lot more effective than using them out in this open field, right?
Awesome.
It's still going well for you, but I don't want you to, like, think that means it's a good thing, you know? Like, just because you can crush him doesn't mean you couldn't crush him harder, is what the whole...
I think no, you're making sense, yeah.
We're trying to make this guy go on the forums later and be like, I had a 12k, 5k bank and the Terran still won. You know? That's what we want. So you're making Thors, which is the correct call against Swarm Host, but you need, like, well, I guess you're still making tank. Yeah. You just gotta, so that's a big point, is whenever you play Swarm Host, there's no siege tanks. I like how you keep pushing where there's no creep, though. That is a good thing. But your 5th base is about 5 minutes late as well. So the problem with this push for you is you have enough money to, I'd say, remake probably about 70 or so army supply. But after that, unless you guaranteed get another base established, you're not going to have the bank like he does. You know, like, you're not going to have the sustainability in this game. So while this is all looking good for you, in terms of overall, like, the war of attrition, you definitely need to try to be more aggressive with your expanding. He hasn't put on enough pressure to stop you from expanding. I'm trying to say, like, yeah, he put the Overlord there, spreading creep, whatever. But you know, you get my point. Is that, like, unless he is actively denying your bases, and when he does deny your bases, that's a good time to move out. So if he is able to just deny your bases while holding your army at home, then this guy's probably not diamond, so we probably don't even need to be worrying about him anyways. But just generally speaking, if they're going to do nothing to deny your expanding, there's no reason for you not to expand further and further. It's the reason Zerg players at higher levels, if they don't do that, they get so far behind, is because you don't... A Terran player with that kind of bank, like the Zerg's kind of bank right now, is way scarier than a Zerg with that kind of bank. Like, the army potential is just massive.
Got it, okay.
One other thing I'd like to say as well, once you start getting these other bases established, instead of extra command centers, start making extra production. Because you think about one of the major strengths of Zerg, okay? Zergs can remax instantly because of Larva. Like, if they're on top of their injects, right, they can make 60 units at a time. Why, like, the philosophy I've been trying to impart to people is, why shouldn't Terrans be able to do the same thing? Like, it doesn't matter if you can only make 1 round of production. if that whole production is an entire new army ready. So
Yeah, I see. I see.
so like at this point in the game, you're getting to a point in your bank. Like I would say maybe not quite yet because you're facing swarm hosts and you as long as you're constantly producing, it's good, which you've been doing a pretty good job at. But I think at least 3 or 4 extra factories wouldn't hurt here.
Yeah.
That way you're able to keep the max out and keep your stature, I guess, in the game. So you unsiege there. That was good. Never fight. Don't fight the locust straight up if you have to. Like right there, just general like walk backwards into the lib zones and let the liberators just kill the locusts as as your guys are walking away. It'll save you a bunch of units.
Okay.
You still should win this game. Like as long as this guy doesn't, what he needs to do to beat you right now is kill off, let his swarmos die, which sounds weird, but he needs the supply. Like I have won a couple games, and I've seen a couple games won where the pro player specifically will not kill the swarm host because he knows that the Zerg player needs the supply. Like the Zerg player will literally be like move commanding into his army on purpose, trying to get him to kill the swarm host, and he just refuses to do it because they're too like he knows that that's what he wants is the supply to be free. So it's like that is the major issue with them for this style. So as long as you see that they still have swarm hosts like this, like yes, they can be strong, but if you just think, you got to think about it this way: if you get past the wave of locust, you're probably gonna win.
Okay, I see.
Oh, you did it there too. Nice. So here you have your 5th established, but you're not like you're kind of just putting all your marbles in this one basket, you know?
Yeah, I think once this push starts going south, I kind of end up choking because I didn't really focus on my economy. I think you're right.
Yeah, well, it wasn't an all-in push; it was just a push, and now you're starting more upgrades now, but like you killed that base and you've been doing. I don't necessarily think you should go home because you're playing against swarm hosts, but I also think that you should like. How do I explain this? Like, think about doing other adventures. Like, I think if you get this hatch down here, that would be good enough. Like, that would be good enough to go home, remax out, then go again. I don't. Yeah, like. I was mentioning how poorly it was starting to go for you as soon as the dude just leaves you alone and lets you kill bases. So it kind of seemed a little oxymoronic for me to be like, yeah, this is going poorly when you're killing a hatch for free, right?
Yeah, no, I got you. I mean, I'm committing a lot over here, and yeah.
He's actually being very cost effective with. You're building the extra factories now. Like all the biggest trend I've noticed with this entire game is everything you're doing could just be a little bit sooner. You know, like every single thing you're doing, like you're making the right moves. They could all just be a slightly bit faster, and it's not even like an insane difference in quickness, if that makes any sense. It's like you have the APM to do this, so
Yeah, right on.
and so it's definitely just about whether you think about it or not, kind of thing. So just I think with getting the SCV, let's make a general benchmark here. Once you're fully saturated on 4 bases, go up to 9 factories.
4 bases, 9 factories.
That'll work. Like you are currently at 8 or 9. But I would say 9. Now, also another thing, once you're like, here's another general benchmark. Once you get once you have your 5th base established, every time a command center finishes, build 1 more. So like that, just have one. You know how you have SCVs dedicated to building depots sometimes, where when they finish a depot, they build another one. At this point in the game,
Sure.
it should be one that way with command centers, so you always have an abundance of them. That'd be putting in new locations in case you lose one or when you're ready to go to a new location. stuff. Like this guy has had absolutely zero vision on the top of the map besides this overlord. You could have taken all this and he would have had zero idea, like zero.
Right on.
I mean, I don't really see how you lose from here. Like I see how you could lose if he was better, but he's not.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't exactly remember what happens here.
Well, yeah, like you turn this unwinnable game into a very winnable game. Or I guess he did. He kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't bank up 10k minerals for him, but yeah.
I'm just yeah. He just like shot himself in the foot and in the arm and in the eye, and then a couple more times like his chest, and then now we're here. I guess that's the way to put it. You know.
Yeah.
Like that was his preparation for y'all's boxing matches. Him shooting himself a couple times and then getting in the ring.
Well, it's a strategy.
Having to take out his air. Okay, that was the game-losing fight right there.
Yeah, I think so.
I think like I didn't mind the lib siege up, but you needed to run your tanks like away from like. This might sound weird, but stutter step them backwards towards the hydras, like because at least if you're trading with hydras, you're getting value.
Yeah, right on, right on. Sure.
Also, when you have this many libs, just start leapfrogging them forward. Like basically make a freedom zone, a big one where nobody can pass. It's like
Okay.
because
Yeah,
you
they're kind of stacked up here, aren't they?
yeah. Well, it's just because you're sieging them when he attacks you instead of like pre-sieging them, kind of. That makes sense. He is somehow managing to flank you, which is so weird. Okay, you killed all the swarm hosts. He isn't injected once. Okay, there we go. I was thinking, I was like, that's probably kind of what he wants, is you to, now he's kind of glad you killed the swarm. Oh, never mind, he built 12 more. Why did I give him any credit? Why? The Swarmos dying felt so painful? Yeah, but I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that's what he wanted, but no. No. So yeah, at this point you just don't have the money. He's just been mining off more bases.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's see. Probably gonna be running around for a while here.
Yeah, I think this is me just trying to hang on again, but
Damn, you actually traded so well at the end. But so you had good army at the end. It was just like generally you're pushing, like you're positioning. Definitely gotta think about where you're positioning your units, especially when there's like a better like concave or place you could be close by. And with Liberator specifically, don't all stack them up because it makes a death zone. Yes, like anything that walks in that's gonna die, but it's a very small zone that he can maneuver his way around. Not really have to worry about.
yeah, I see. Okay, well, cool.
That was
You got some notes here.
generally like yeah, definitely had that game. You were playing. He macroed better than you, but your decision making was better. So, and macro is the easiest thing to fix in this game. I think it is by far the in terms of just like cause all it takes is whereas the other things actually take actively changing how you think. Macro is just consistency of hitting the S button while you have your command centers.
Yeah, well, that's encouraging. Cool. Yeah, let's do it. There you go.
Back. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Welcome back.
All right, I think you're gonna have to reinvite. My chat's just making fun of me because I tend to take long bathroom breaks.
Gotta give you shit a little bit.
Right. So I focused on the theory crafting of ZVZ, but I think I'm gonna be focusing on like definitely intro SCV
Yeah, right now.
because we're seeing the basic same mistakes over matchups. Have a general idea of what needs to change. How timing? Do you play double gas? Well, what generally do you play, like Raven?
Yeah, so I'll typically do 2 Reapers in a Hellium Factory expand, and then Raven with the as the first starport unit. Yeah. I'm gearing up for a 3-1-1 bio push.
Okay, well, always orbital before factory.
Okay.
Just because like the early mules and SCVs are more important than any other time in the game. Like the faster you're mining more minerals, or especially early on, it just gives you the ability to do so much more. Like the mineral count matters a lot more at this any other stage. So
I see.
like for example, you know, yeah, it was 3, 4, 5 seconds where you weren't building an orbital, right? Which doesn't sound like that, but it's also time where your orbital is gaining energy for new mules.
I see.
Where's this money going right now?
I guess this should be my command center.
Well, if you should be getting close to your command center after like either factor and tech lab or starport. Like your
Yeah.
starport should go down immediately after your factory finishes.
Um, is that? I mean, is that most factory expands? I thought that this build typically opened command center before starport, or second command center before starport.
Well,
But
anytime you go double gas, okay, you're kind of doing a weird version of it. You only have 3 on gas total, so I haven't seen this
yeah,
like specific build before. So, but just generally speaking, when you open double gas, it's usually 1-1-1 and then command center.
I see. Okay.
And yeah, the thing is, you could have had that all at the same timing as you do right now. Like your command center went down still at the normal 1-1-1 timing. So
Sure. Yeah, it was definitely slow.
I don't mind the Reaper harass and things like that as long as you're not getting behind. Like you went up to 500 minerals twice now, so definitely 5-second rule, man. With everything you're doing, at least look back. Like you're still doing good in your production. Just you know, it definitely could be cleaner. If that makes sense.
I see.
Like it's not bad, but we want better than not bad. You know. Depot. So is there a reason you're not putting on gas? Is this like part of the build?
Yeah. So typically with this build, yeah, you do the command. Then I was actually a little slow putting them back on gas. You typically refill after the command center's down to get ready for the Raven.
Okay, well, at least with the type of build you did, I honestly think you could just do this off of 1 gas expand. Like, just because the amount of workers you had in gas was the equivalent to just having 1 gas, right? So, it just doesn't right now. It's not making much sense to me what the whole point of the double gas was. Like, it just seems like it's kind of like the waste of your early 75 minerals to get that gas when you were mining the equivalent of still only having 1 gas guy. Okay. Your macro here is pretty good, but I still think you're missing quite a few cycles of CVs. Like I know you got your
Okay.
command center a little later, but I was waiting specifically, like purposefully later in game to mention this, but like you're at the same SCV count right now as you were last game at the 4 minute and 47, and it's over about a minute and a half later. And your command center generally speaking, was about a minute later than, or should have been about a minute later than a normal expand. So it's like you're still you're still just missing cycles somewhere. I haven't I've been trying to look for them, but I don't think it's necessarily you're missing full cycles. You're just missing part of every cycle, as in like a couple seconds per cycle. Does that, like, if that makes any sense?
I think what it's looking like to me when I'm looking at it here is it looks like I often get like my command centers are off sync and I'm like come back and like filling up one or like having two and then one will drop off and I'm getting a like half a SCV worth of dead time on each of it is what it's looking like to me.
Yeah. So exactly. So you're just missing a couple. Like the seconds are just kind of adding up to
Yeah.
full missed times, and also another thing, like you're not rallying as well your production, but that's a simple fix. Goes down to the bottom. I like your vision though. I do like your vision right now. The spotter marines aren't bad. I don't necessarily think you need them this close to home though. Like these two are kind of aren't that useful. I think like if you want to put this one over here, put him in the bottom, because think about it, right? If he sends out a drop from his main, it's gonna come like a beeline to the left and up. So at least like by this middle line, like just you want to get vision as fast as possible. You don't want to see it while it's right before it's at your natural, right? That at that point, it like yes, it'll give you reaction time, but you want more reaction time. So like, and this guy, you definitely want to put him like in the middle or like a little bit more towards. Same with the top guy, of course, a little bit more out to the right. Just basically send them out a little further. Like every guy should be about where this bottom guy, like in terms of map vision. You want to like, because it's better for you to have a whole 10-15 seconds to react to whatever he's doing than, 5 to 10 seconds where, okay, shit, he's right here. Yeah, I would like your build if your SCV, like if you were making SCVs on time. I would definitely like it because you would be at about even workers with him. So I don't like the turrets though, because this is money you could be using. Like this is literally exactly enough money to be using on your third command center.
I see.
Like you're building 4 turrets right now. That's 400 minerals. Because the only thing I was gonna say was the only reason I like his position more than yours right now is because of his third command center.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, you're about to be in a really strong position to attack him, but imagine like your attack doesn't kill him, right? Then he's probably going to win the game. That's my guess. Is if this attack fails, he's going to win the game just because of his economic status, and his upgrades aren't that far behind yours. Like he's getting 1-1 as well, so he's actually going to have a point to where he has 1-1 before you do. You'll have +1 for longer than he will, but like I definitely don't mind this push, but like the time you're pushing plus with the amount of units and the amount of workers, like you are actually all-inning him right now as much as you might not realize it. So if you're gonna do a 2-base all-in, go up to 5 barracks instead of 3, and you want to be hitting at about the 730 mark. That's usually when most 2-base all-ins hit.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So I guess my intention is not to all in. I do want to power up into a macro game. So I guess I just need to focus on work production more, or I guess if that's my intention, what should I do differently here in this case then?
Well, then your focus shouldn't necessarily be on moving out or unit production, because like what I noticed is you made sure your units were constantly producing because you wanted to have a strong army for this push, but that doesn't scream macro oriented to me, right? Like at some point you cut unit production to get a third command center. So somewhere around the 5.5 to 6 minute mark, you want to cut Marines or something like that, so you can at least get the third down.
Okay.
As well as focusing on your upgrades a little more in terms of 1-1 armory, combat shields. Your supply block to the heavens right now. You don't have any SCVs started. Like, if I was analyzing casting this game, I would think you're all in. I would think you're all inning him right now. Like that's what I would think your plan is.
Okay.
Like even dropping the mule, which is 270 minerals worth of economy. Oh, you're right. Yeah, that was That was definitely the worst choke you could have fought into. Like, I don't mind what he's doing. Like, you gotta think about it from his perspective, right? He knows he has less upgrades and that he is what's it called behind an army right now. So he's positioning himself to where even at the very least he forces you to siege up here instead of somewhere in range of like a command center or depots or something like that. So like he's making a good move to going here, but you still definitely should have been able to crush this fight. Like this was just I want to go back to
Yeah,
that.
so he kind of snuck up on me here. I mean, he caught me with the Widow Mine here, and he saw my army. I'd sent out the Marines previously, and I thought that my vision was good enough, and so I thought he was on the map, but clearly it was not, because I had sent him. Like the Marine went out to the north, the other one out to the south. But I was thinking I was in the clear, but clearly I just missed him, and then just walked right into him.
Okay, well, an easy fix to that is like out scan his base, and if you don't see his army, then you should be like, where is it, right? Like if you scanned his natural right now, you'd see that his army's there. So okay, I can move out. But if you scan his natural and his army's not there, that's a good indicator that he probably moved out. So and if you want to wait until you get to the middle of the map or something to scan and see for his army, like even after you get hit by this Widow Mine, if that triggers a scan out of you and then you see him moving, like reacting to knowing that your army is out there, it gives you time to react counterintuitively to what he's doing. So it's basically you playing without information and him playing with information, like all the information because of that Widow Mine.
Right. Yeah, I sent this one Marine out, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it anyways.
Well, so
Like I see him with it, and I can attack, but then yeah, but no, I just
well you can with the Raven, but the Raven needs to go in before the Marines are getting shelled. If that makes sense. Like you want the siege tank to be disabled before the Marines walk in. So if I absolutely had to engage this army right here, right now, you'd go up to the top more, and so you're at least all of your units get to get out of this choke, and you get to arc out like in an actual arc. And then come in. You'll be able to siege your tanks. Your Raven will hopefully.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Also, with how low the Raven is, I would rather you anti-armor missile than try to disable, because it's very unlikely you're going to get any off, and I know you don't. But it's like, instead, you're coming in this one angle with all of your Marines clumped. Your tanks aren't sieged. You know, you don't have combat shields or anything. Like, at this point in the game, as bad as Marauders are, because of how much health they have, they're helping him in this fight. If that makes sense. Like, there's so much meat you have to chew through. So it's like yeah, it's just the coming in from a single like 10-degree window is what's killing you here. Whereas you could have this is such an open field, you could be coming in it's like a 75 to 90-degree angle somewhere. I still don't think you're necessarily dead, but it'd be very hard to win. Like it would take him fucking up a lot. And that you see how much money you're floating, right? It's because of before if I mentioned if you're gonna do a push like this, like have 5 racks instead of 3. Like if you had the 5 racks production, probably would have been able to hold his follow up. And I'm not saying holding makes you win, but I'm saying that's why you go 5 racks and a 2 base all in 3. Because you have you're spending your money while you're producing SCVs and making depots and stuff like that, but the moment you stop, you tend to just have all this extra cash. My God, these SCVs are winning.
Oh yeah, they're tough. They're fighting it.
Yes, this game. I don't even like that he keeps pushing. He has no reason to push. Oh my God. Well, that's the start. Like, if there was ever a start to a comeback, that's it.
That's the theme today.
Lost all your vision, too. You had such good vision early on. Now you don't have any.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I gotta keep that up and not just do it the one time, huh?
Yeah, well, just if you're gonna definitely try to not all army if you're gonna be sending out spotters. I don't think this guy knows what a medevac is. That was good. That was a good drop. He stemmed everything too. Okay, he's making 4 medevacs at a time now. I was about to say, like, if this guy doesn't make medevacs, that could be, I guess. So every time you're behind in a game, like, you always want to catch their arm. Like, yeah. So like, I saw you kind of moved back. Like, you're not gonna win a straight up fight, so it's better. Like, you want to try to take your fights as dirty as possible for you. So like, catching half these units in the middle right here.
I see.
Because like, straight up fights are just never gonna work. I like the tenacity though. I like that you didn't just leave, because you definitely there was a point there where you dropped that the supplies were within 9 of each other. Was like, it definitely wasn't optimistic, but it was better than. I'd like that you didn't leave. A lot of people would have. I would have.
Yeah, it felt tight enough. I felt a little weak leaving in that spot. But I mean, I felt pretty dead. But yeah, cool, man.
I was yeah. So general TVT, don't lose track of your vision. SCV cycles. That's just gonna be a general all 3 match. Get the first 5 minutes of the game down. Like, try to not get supply blocked and never miss an SCV within the first 5 minutes. And once you do that, the rest of the phases of like the mid and late game will come a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool.
As well. Oh, try to like, in terms of positioning in TVT, like, I liked your vision, but definitely try to take more arced fights. Like, try to make the fights as big of an angle as possible for you, like concaves. Concaves are very important in TVT. So like, you definitely don't want to just be running into tank fire, or very rarely. I'm not gonna say never, but very rarely.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of just like, in that spear formation there. So
Yeah,
yeah, I feel
we're
like
walking in groups of 4 and 5 in a line, basically like a shooting range for him.
sure. Yeah,
The only time that the only time you should ever want to take fights like that is when you have a massive like upgrade lead, or he just doesn't have nearly enough units. So
yeah, right on.
yeah, you know this for a fact. Defender's advantage in TVT is a real thing. So try to take that into account when taking fights, especially early game fights with Ravens, because Ravens make fights very wonky.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I gotta. I mean, I'm sure you saw I just kind of flew my way into its death there. I gotta get more on top of like deploying those as well. So
Yeah, of course, and just deciding where you are at in the game, I think is going to be, because it feels like when I'm watching you play, I can tell that you, like, at least your subconscious has a general idea of where you're at, but your conscious decision making isn't following how your subconscious feels. If that makes sense. So your subconscious is thinking like, okay, I'm probably not doing that great in this game, but that thought wouldn't change how you're making your decisions, when it should. If that makes any sense.
yeah, a little bit.
So yeah, it's like definitely let those, like, trust your gut feeling about games for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of funny to say that because I definitely notice, sometimes I'll do an inadvisable push, and I'll just be like, man, I don't know if I should have, and then I'll do the push anyways, and then I die, and I'm like, well, I should have listened. Again, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, you always trust your gut. I do that too, dude, all the time. Where I'm like, I make a push and like I'll lose, but I'm really ahead, and I'll be like, dude, all I had to do was do this, this, and this, like, not do that. Like, basically, all I had to do was not do the one thing that I did. It would be fine.
Absolutely.
So the better that get it, not like at actively telling ourselves no, I guess, not getting overeager and not making essentially bad decisions, the better the games will turn out. But
Indeed.
you for sure. But
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, I appreciate it. This was cool. Yeah.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks a lot.
dude. Helps. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you start winning some more ladder games, and if you have any questions, I'm always available. Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a
Yep.
good one.
Yeah, have a good one.
Ah.